A black cat crosses the road and like dead statue someone stop and wait for someone else to pass first. Friends, today we protest such kind of act and make a fun of it, as we know nothing is going to happen by performing such practices, and this is completely a superstition. But I will consider you really brave when you could have mocked this kind of act 300 years ago, when majority of people believed in such superstitions. During that era of superstition, one such person came forward who was truly brave enough to do so. 22nd May 1772, exactly 252 years ago from today, he was born, a revolutionary who is known as the father of modern India. Yes, I am talking about Raja Ram Mohan Roy. Come friends, let's get to know about his ideologies and how he brought a revolution in this country. Our story begins in the year 1757, the year when the British East India Company defeated the Nawab of Bengal in a battle known as Battle of Palasi and established British Raj in India. It was the era when Indian society was extremely conservative. Superstition and social stigma were very common and abundant. Casteism, child marriage, in several cases young girls were bought for these marriages. Dowry was prevalent. There was also polygamy, where a man could have multiple wives. Especially, this was seen in the community of Kulin Brahmin. Raja Ram Mohan Roy was born into such community. Above all, the most brutal act performed by such society was Sati Pratha, where if the husband of a woman died for any reason, the widow would then be cremated alive. It is said that initially these practices was voluntary, but later these practices started to become compulsory. Society pressurized the widows to such an extent that they had to be cremated alive. These social evils were justified using religion, culture and tradition and practiced. When the British came to India and saw this happening, they didn't see the point in interfering with this and created new issue. Had they criticized these practices, people would have revolted even more because it would be going against the culture. So these were left alone. When Warren Hastings became the first Governor General of Bengal in 1772, then he clarified these things, that in all suits regarding inheritance, marriage, caste and other religious usages or institutions, the laws of the Quran with respect to Muslims had those of the Shastra with respect to Hindus shall be invariably be adhered to. These were known as Anglo-Hindu and Anglo-Muslims law. The Britishers obviously didn't know Sanskrit, so they couldn't read the Hindu scriptures, so they appointed Hindu priests to do it. And whatever the conservative priests said was made into a law by the Britishers. Raja Ram Mohan Roy was born into such social conditions. He was born into a rich Brahmin family. He was completed his early education at a school in a village. Then he was sent to a madrasa in Patna, where he learned Persian and Arabic languages. He read Quran and Sufi philosophy and Greek philosophy like Aristotle. Because of his ideologies, he got into conflict with his father, following which he left his home for the Himalayas. He reached Tibet, where he studied Buddhism. After that, he came to Benares and studied Sanskrit and read Vedas and Upanishads. So Raja Ram Mohan Roy had knowledge of many different ideologies, languages and philosophies. After 1815, he resigned from his job as a clerk at the East India Company and devoted all his time to bringing about educational, social and religious reforms. A feminist is a person who believes that men and women should have equal rights. By this logic, Raja Ram Mohan Roy can be called the first feminist of modern India. He campaigned to end polygamy, child marriage and dowry, in addition to education for girls, women's property right and widow remarriage. These ideas were also propagated by him. But the thing he is the most known for is ending Sati Pratha. It was 1811 when Raja Ram Mohan Roy's elder brother Jagmohan died. He was already grieving the death of his brother when he was shocked at seeing his sister-in-law. Her name was Alaka Manjari. She bought a new sari. Why? So she could be cremated in it. Raja Ram Mohan Roy was the only person in his entire family to protest against this. All the other family members and relatives were supportive of this. 17-year-old Alaka Manjari was forced to commit sati because of the pressure from society, and she was dragged towards Pairi. Raja Ram Mohan Roy tried to protest, but to no avail. And while she was being burnt alive, the priests and relatives around her were chanting Mahasati, Mahasati, Mahasati over her painful screams. This whole incident had a deep emotional impact on Raja Ram Mohan Roy. After this incident, he had decided that he would not rest until he gets Sati banned and remove this completely from the society. But this was a society where majority of people were against him. The biggest challenge for him was figuring out how to go against the majority, where almost all the people believed in these practices. In 1814, he formed the Atmiya Sabha, a conference of a close-knit group of people. This was basically a place for those people to meet and discuss their ideas. One of its members was Darknath Tagore. He is the grandfather of Rabindranath Tagore. In 1818, Raja Ram Mohan Roy wrote an article originally in the Bengali language. In this article, he depicted the debate between two imaginary people on Sati, and he presented strong arguments on both sides, one in the favor of Sati and another against it. Among the arguments in favor of Sati were that it was supported by ancient saints, and the arguments against Sati were also taken from the scriptures to prove his point. Obviously, he showed that the arguments against Sati were stronger. Historically speaking, even before Raja Ram Mohan Roy's time, several kings had tried to stop Sati, like Tughlaq, Akbar, Jahangir and Aurangzeb. These kings had passed laws prohibiting Sati. The Dutch, French and Portuguese government had banned Sati in their Indian colonies as well. But despite this, the Britishers couldn't do it because they were afraid that the opinion of most of Indian society was in favor of Sati. So they didn't do anything. But when Raja Ram Mohan Roy wrote these articles, it had astounded and shocked the entire society of Bengal at large. People were shocked to see a person speaking against Sati so openly and using scripture at that, basing his argument on scriptures and history. In 1820, he published a sequel to his article. His Christian friend William Carey had also played an important role in this process. In addition to this article, whenever Raja Ram Mohan Roy came to know of anyone's death, he would go to the cremation ground immediately to protect the life of the widow. He would physically go there to save as many widows as possible. He would go there to convince the families personally. Due to all these efforts, in 1829, the Governor General William Bentinck finally passed the Bengal Sati Regulation Act and abolished Sati. But our story doesn't end here. This was only the beginning of the battle. Some Orthodox Hindus formed an organization as a response to this, led by Radhakant Dev. This organization was named Dharm Sabha. He submitted petition for the repeal of the act. He wanted Sati to not be abolished and that it continues to exist. By this time, Ram Mohan Roy had left for England to ensure that the law regarding Sati cannot be overturned. This was the time when the Mughal king Akbar II had bestowed the title of Raja to Ram Mohan Roy. This is why we address him as Raja Ram Mohan Roy. In England, his struggle were successful when in 1932, Dharam Sabha's appeal was rejected by the Privy Council and Sati remained abolished. But unfortunately, in 1933, Raja Ram Mohan Roy died in England. Raja Ram Mohan Roy believed that your faith, the religion that you believe in, and your reason, your logic can exist together harmonically. But for this, you have to ignore every person or mediator getting between the two. All the guardians of the religion that interfered in your relationship with God need to be removed completely. And then whenever you apply logic, all the meaningless rituals would need to be removed from the way as well. All the superstitious practices will have to be eradicated. Overall, the secular and liberal ideas of Raja Ram Mohan Roy on liberty, equality and fraternity, all of these were implemented later in our constitution. Thanks to Baba Saheb Ambedkar, Jawaharlal Nehru, and Sardar Patel. Their vision was also the same. So it is not surprising that because of all these things and because of fighting against blind faith and superstitions, today Raja Ram Mohan Roy is often referred to as the father of modern India. We can learn a lot from his life, isn't it? Write your opinion in the comment below. If you found this video informative, then do like and share. Please subscribe this channel to get regular updates of my latest subjects. Let's meet in the next video. Namaskar.